was Corps of Engineers, Chief of Logistics for Army Chief of Staff. He kept track of all the little stuff. And I can still remember the day, it was somewhere in the 1960s, I was pretty young, and my dad comes in and he's just shaking his head. And he said, "You won't believe what we're going to do next. We're going to control the Mississippi River." And I remember him sitting down and he was chuckling and thinking how absurd it was that we, the human beings, have the pretense, the presumption that we can control the river. Now, I'm not sure I understood that night that well until Katrina. And everybody started pulling on all the threads of all the things we've done over the last 50 years to that river. And what we've done to the environment in order to cause the warming that created not just a hurricane, but it amplified it to such a degree that it had more devastating effects than possible before. You know, so many within the faith believe that since we've received the Word of God, that we must own it. The human family has learned over and over how to misplace this authority of reality so that we might falsely claim it. And I think my dad that day caught a drift of that. You know, even Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, knew that that river was a living reality and it was shifting day to day and it had no absolute course. But it needed some free rein because that's the nature of rivers. You see, Robert Louis Stevenson, this week I read one of my favorite quotes from him. "There will come a time when we will sit down to the banquet of our own consequences." Welcome to the banquet. It's called the 21st century. Today's lesson is the third Matthew parable about the vineyards, and in this setting. In Isaiah, the vineyard is always Israel, and it may have assumed that many here in this text it's Israel, and maybe it was, because Matthew was speaking to the Jewish community. He was trying to get them to come on board. But that's not what this text is speaking to today. Today's lesson is very important, and there are two pieces of it. For the vineyard, we might see as twofold, and I want us to get this. The vineyard is no longer I see as Israel. The vineyard is the planet Earth and our souls. What are we doing on the planet Earth, and what are we doing in our souls? And the fact is, the earth herself reflects who our souls are. So when any of us read the bad news, we must look within our own souls and see the bad news has set up camp there as well. But it's also set something else out. What is it Augustine said? That which is perfect is that which sees that which is not perfect. There's a whole lot of that going on in our souls and in the world. And right now we're in a very, very important junction. The heart of this parable, however, remains the same. You reject the authority that gives you any opportunity to even be in the vineyard. That's to draw our next breath. Much less to grow a life of nourishment, fulfillment, and community. If you don't do this, if you reject that authority, there's going to be some consequences. These two, our individual souls and the planet Earth, the bigger human family, are inextricably connected. Our souls and the planet Earth are, as I said, reflections of each other. And the news, my friends, is not good. We have rejected the authority who is life. We live in a time of the self-made man. How many times do you hear that on the news? Seriously, when you listen to the news this week, think how many times you hear self-made man. Now, is that some pretense or what? What story are they living in? Oh, that's next week's sermon. I'm sorry. You see this whole thing of, I can do it. I can do it. I see what's needed. I know how to make the world better. There's a truth that must be honored if we are to live. The truth has to do with God's love. The sinew of life is what I call it. There is life, but what holds life together? What is it that holds me to you? What is it that holds me to the earth herself? It is love. It is a biological reality. It's invisible. For those of us with children, the love between ourselves and our children is inexplicable. We cannot point to it. We can talk about the acts that come out of it. We can talk our response. But what it is, we cannot really say. It's invisible. But we can point to someone who lives it and say, there's someone who lives it. There's someone who lives it. We cannot say it, but we can live it. And this is what Jesus invites us into the very, very presence of that which holds life together. And now we're back to the Holy Trinity: life, love, and truth. They're all within themselves. They're all dancing. You cannot be true without love. You cannot love without the truth. For those of us who've been married a long time or a short time, we know if you start building a relationship on anything less than the truth, it's like building a house on something other than level ground. You only get a couple stories up and the thing tips over. Truth, love, and life. They're dancing together in an amazing mystery that each of us participate in with every single breath. And here's this guy, Jesus. He comes along and he shows us the very presence of what it is that holds us together and how we can participate in it. And not only that, but how we can grow it in our communities and make more. Jesus Christ shows us the connective tissue that holds everything together. And when we reject the Son of God, we disconnect ourselves to life itself. And we do it all over the place. It's about relationship. It's about honoring those places that connect us. I remind you that the word religion comes from the root religare, relinking, to reconnect. My spiritual moment, spiritus, the breath, this moment is going to be as full as it can if I keep connecting it. And if I connect it all the way back, there's a thread that goes right to that table. And that thread comes right to me and it allows me to lead my spiritual sense with the fullness of my whole tradition. Our Sunday school class, what we're doing is deconstructing all the places our tradition got it wrong. There's a lot of conversation in that class because we got it wrong a lot. But we're trying to reach. We're trying to reach for something new here in this time. We do this in our own souls all the time when we know what is best and we go with it and then we see that we were wrong. What I talked about Theo for just the simplest level is happening to each of us all the time. We're not getting it right. Every day something is not right. I get something wrong. I was very happy. I went to a lecture series with Brian McLaren this week, and he talked about how after 7 days he's already invested so much in worldly pyramids and worldly stories and all the stuff that he's got to come back to church somewhere. He's got to just somehow say, no, that's not it. This is it. This is it. Someone said to me one time, Red Hawk, I've been to your church and I've been a few times and you just keep preaching the same thing every week, so why do I need to go? And I went, I know. I went to the gym 3 weeks and I was done. I learned all the exercises. I don't know about you, but I need to exercise every week. There's this part of me, if I want it to grow, I can't not tend it. For those of us who are gardeners, is there a week that goes by that you don't weed it? And if it does, what are you looking for the next week? And if you don't do any weeding, what kind of produce are you going to get? The fruits. We're back at the fruits. My friends, the planet is fraying and so are our souls. You read the newspaper, we don't know how to have a conversation. If we really look at the Bible, you know what the Bible is? This is the best definition yet. It's the best constellation of arguments the planet has presented yet. It's not a single thing. It's all these arguments from different traditions within a single tradition. Arguing. Read the 4 Gospels. You think they agree? What are they arguing about? They're arguing about what's the authority. How do we live it? How do we get in it? How do we live in a community with it? They don't all agree. They come at it from different angles. But what they come at is singular. And it's very difficult to talk about. Because what we're talking about is the nature of love. We're talking about the nature of relationship and how things fit together and how we honor them as they fit together. Now, for those of you who know me, I'm kind of a little bit of at least I have episodes of Facebook fanaticism. And it usually happens when someone posts something really relevant. So 2 weeks ago, someone posted something, and after they did, I sat quiet for about 40 minutes and thought, how do we talk about the way like that? I don't know, so I'm just going to show you the video. I don't know how we do this. For those of you who are watching this on the website, we will post the website, the web address, because I couldn't embed it. I don't know, that might take a long time.